Welcome, everyone, to Building a Just World, Soul by Soul. As progressive faith communities, the lifeblood of our work is social justice. And social justice is always grounded in economic justice. If we really want social justice, we must build it upon a foundation of economic equity and fairness. But our economy is broken. It works well for the wealthiest 5%, and even better yet for the wealthiest 1%, but it works poorly for the rest of us. Unfortunately, most of our efforts for true justice are what Joanna Macy called holding actions. They're actions to just prevent things from getting worse. We feed the poor. We house the homeless. We crusade for equality. And we advocate for inmates. But rarely do we get to the core of why we have hunger, why homelessness, why do we have inequality and overcrowded prisons. As essential as holding actions are, we must change our basic perception of the economy if we are to create a more just, caring, and sustainable world. The need is urgent and global. At the core of lasting global change is personal change. If we want to create a more just, caring, and sustainable world, we must dig deeper. We must look into the communities and the stories that sustain us. We must educate ourselves about how this economy works. Then we must look deeper still, into our core beliefs, into the invisible assumptions we hold, into the archetypes, the myths that shape how we think. This is the role of inquiry, what we call transformational inquiry. Faith communities, especially churches, have unique resources for leading this deep change. Churches own the great meaning-making stories of Western civilization. Churches are invited to transform people at their core. Churches have no bottom line, so they can allow people the time they need to make essential changes. What we are suggesting here is the renewal of an ancient vision. This vision has churches leading the evolution of human consciousness to create a more just, caring, and sustainable world. We need a practice that is grounded in our tradition, one that is contemporary, one that brings no excess baggage, and finally, a practice that supports all the dimensions of our lives. Transformational inquiry is such a practice. We have adapted the revolutionary work of Harvard psychologists Robert Kegan and Lisa Lahey to the needs and the opportunities of the church. Now, let's apply transformational inquiry to the process of creating a more just, caring, and sustainable world. A basic premise of this work is that the divine, the sacred, great mystery, whatever you want to call it, is within you. But it is buried by invisible, self-serving commitments and false assumptions. And we, unwittingly, worship our invisible, self-serving commitments and assumptions. Transformational inquiry actively investigates these layers of self-serving commitments and assumptions that stand between us and the divine, to clear the way so the divine can lead through us. Transformational inquiry assumes that we are all complex individuals. St. Paul captured this complexity 20 centuries ago when he said, "For what I will to do, that I do not practice, but what I hate, that I do." On the one hand, we are committed to some very noble things, the heaven we want to bring forth. At the same time, we have self-protective, competing commitments that protect us from the hell we want to avoid. Because we hold our noble commitments and our competing commitments simultaneously, we create a dynamic immunity to change. Behind our competing commitments are any number of assumptions that are typically invisible to our conscious awareness and hidden from our sight. Your divinity is buried beneath these assumptions. There are 4 parts to the inquiry process. We begin with complaints, because everyone likes to complain. One complaint might be, "I hate the way big banks run our lives." It's important to note that beneath every complaint is a commitment to something noble and worthy. It need not be big. If I explore the complaint about big banks running our lives, I may discover that I am committed to not using my big bank credit cards. We begin with this small but noble commitment. We then ask, what am I doing or not doing instead? How do I prevent the realization of my noble commitment? What if I did something different? If I imagine not using my big bank credit cards, what tension or anxiety arises for me? Well, one concern is that I might not be piling up free airline miles. And I am definitely committed to accumulating those miles. On the face of it, this may seem trivial, but clearly my commitment to free airline miles is enough to keep me using the credit cards I say I don't want to use. I'm stuck in the middle. I want to get rid of my big bank credit cards, but I'm really determined to get those free miles. Worse yet, if I stop using the cards, I get anxious about losing out on free miles. But if I use them, I feel guilty for supporting the banks that are running our lives. The way out is to look deeper, to look beneath my commitment to accumulating free airline miles. To go deeper, we ask an if-then question. So, if I don't collect free airline miles, then, and complete the sentence. The answer may surprise you. In this example, I assume that if I don't collect free airline miles, then I won't get to see my grandchildren. And I assume if I don't see my grandchildren regularly, I will be heartbroken, and my life will just not be worth living. Our rational mind thinks this is just crazy, but our hidden big assumptions have little or no respect for reason. Now, in this process, I have discovered something very important. I have discovered a set of lenses through which I see the world, and I had no idea. My big assumptions, or core beliefs, are the foundation of my commitment to receiving free airline miles, even when it goes against my heartfelt commitment to not support big banks. At the same time, my big assumptions hold the key to change. Big assumptions are like the foundation of a house. Small changes in the foundation can have dramatic effects on the superstructure of the house. In similar ways, small changes in our core beliefs can dramatically change how we see the world and how we act in it. As we alter our core beliefs about the economy, we help build the foundation for a more just, caring, and sustainable world. This is the great work of churches and other faith communities for our times. We invite you to join us.